Wake up at Holiday Inn Express to a can't-miss breakfast that's free with every stay. Count on all the hot, fresh coffee you need and an incredible breakfast buffet that has something for everyone, like eggs, cinnamon rolls, and even hot, fresh pancakes with all the toppings you crave. Next time, do yourself a favor and stay at a Holiday Inn Express with a can't-miss breakfast that's free with every stay. So, when you wake up at Holiday Inn Express, you'll wake up happy. A part of IHG Hotels and Resorts.
Okay, I'm live.
Despite the human species' exponential technological advances over the past millennia, little or no progress has been made in the scientific understanding of consciousness. We are awake and aware of our surroundings, but is this phenomenon reserved to our corner of the universe, to each individual? Or is it linked and shared across all the cosmos, the result of quantum entanglement? Are we truly confined to written, gesticular and verbal communication? Or have we simply, yet slowly, lost the ability to communicate telepathically due to atrophy? And by we, I mean you and me. For there are some who still can. Their message, we are not alone.
What's up, guys? This is Mike Beavers from The Theory, and you are listening to Alien Strand Podcast, the dopest UFO alien podcast out there. And if you want to find out about me, just go on YouTube and search UFOs over UFO or The Theory with Mike Beavers. Stay tuned, guys.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Alien Strand Podcast. I'm your host, Donald Ledesma, and welcome to today's show. So today, we're live. We're live for you guys because we got some special guests coming up today. And we're going to talk a little bit about their documentary that they put together. And we're just going to have a really, really nice, interesting conversation. So, but before we get into it, I want to welcome everybody to Alien Strand Podcast. You can catch us on Tumblr, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. So catch us there, all right? We're on 25 platforms. You can download us there. We have iHeartRadio, Spreaker, everything that you can think of, Amazon Radio, everything you can think of is on there. So if you have a chance, catch our past episodes. So we had some pretty good ones, right? So the last ones we had, it was called Idaho Encounter. So that was number 69, right? And I talked about some stories there that happened to some guys, younger guys back in the past, and those are the stories I like to tell as well. So if you have a chance, check those out. Visit my the one before that was called Contact. So I talk about CE5ing, right? Kind of teach you a little bit about CE5ing, and you have a chance, go back on that podcast. That's number 68, number 67. It's one of my favorite topics, and I always talk about it. It's about Bigfoot. So if you have a chance, go back to that one and check that one out. So let's just go ahead and get going with this one, all right? So these guys, good friends of mine, Tyler and Chris, and they made this nice documentary, right? And so what they did was they were able to send it to me, a pre-screening, and I was able to check it out, because it's not released yet. Just an FYI for everybody. And you can go and check that out, when it comes out, okay? So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get them on the line right now. And that way you guys can check it out and, listen what they have to say about it. So here we go. All right, guys. You on the phone?
We are here.
We're on.
So we're actually,
John.
we're actually streaming live as far as on StreamYard. So this is my first time doing it, but you know what? We're gonna have a good time while we're doing this today. So I really do appreciate you guys sending me this the video as a pre-screen. Okay, and let me tell you something, man. I really enjoyed the documentary. It had a lot of different insights and things that people really need to know about, right? So I'm not going to give anything away, but I just want to, to start off with you guys. So let's start off from the very, very beginning. How did this project begin?
Go ahead, Tyler. Tell them how it began without anything to do with aliens, right?
Well, that's a great point, Chris. Number one, first and foremost, Don, you are the man. A. B, I love that you had us on your show. All right. Like, we just sincerely appreciate it, because I can tell just by listening to your voice and by seeing you speak through the live stream, is like you're passionate about what you do, man. And that's what Chris and I are too, man. We're passionate filmmakers.
Nice.
And so we really appreciate you taking the time to sit down, have us on, talk about our documentary, talk about which is called Conscious Contact 4, and just talk about extraterrestrials and things of that nature, man, and help entertain and inform your audience,
right?
Help them maybe expand their mind,
right?
So where it started, man, we hit the ground running, and we kind of do that with most things in life. And you might have noticed that by like, oh, well, we reached out to you about the pre-screening, and like, boom, 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 here we are, 5 days later or whatever, a week later.
Exactly.
On your podcast.
Right.
So similar scenario. Chris, him and I have been doing filmmaking for Chris. How many? I've been like 5.5 years. Yourself?
About 6 years, I think.
Nice.
Like 6 years. And you have been into it for...
longer than that, but
like
doing this kind of thing, narrative stuff. Yeah.
Right.
And so, and we've known each other through various like short film projects, also commercial projects that we do for various clients, music videos, stuff like that, sketch comedies. And he had over the summer, and like, man, it was the end of July, I'm going to say, he was like, man, I've got a buddy that's making documentaries. Right. And he has fun doing it. It's interesting content. People watch it. Would you want to do that? I was like, yeah, let's do it. And, excuse me, fast forward, man, so that was the end of July, and our topic, we decided, Chris, I believe, came up with it. He's like, oh, well, the 7 Gates of Hell is a urban legend that's located near us. I'm in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Right. Chris, you're in...
I'm more near Philly, but yeah.
Okay. Doesn't want to give his location. His wife wouldn't appreciate the fans flocking to his house.
I don't blame you, brother.
I respect that.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, I'm divorced, so you can flock all you want.
There you go. No pun
actually, no. I'm actually interested in a chick right now, so no flocking at the moment.
There you go.
But if that goes south, we can start flocking. So let me get back to this. Let me get back to this documentary.
Okay.
We're going to do the 7 Gates of Hell, which in a nutshell, in a little town called Pelham, Pennsylvania, which is, I think, south of York, Pennsylvania. There's like a myth. I think there was an insane asylum involved, some murders, stuff like that, maybe some occult practices. And it came that there's like, these 7 gates or arches on these people's property, and if you pass through all 7 of these gates at night, after the 7th one, you're instantly transported to hell.
Wow.
It's like, that's kind of interesting. We can go camp out there. We can get permission from the property owner to do all this stuff, interview them. And so, like, I started reaching out to those people, going through deeds. It's just hard. You know the kind of research you need to do, right? To get a hold of people. It's not easy. And as I'm doing that, I happened to stumble upon this lady's story. Her name is Anjali. Have you or your audience heard of her at all? Her story popped up. It gained popularity here in over the summer.
No, not recently. Did this happen recently?
Okay. So yeah, it happened over the summer. She had a story where she had met somebody who took her to a base, and had made contact with extraterrestrials. And so I see this post, and she's saying that she's going to give a press conference, a live press conference at the Lincoln Memorial, at the foot of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. on August 17th. So I call up Chris. I'm like, Chris, this lady, it's on Reddit. There's a lot of people following it. She's saying she met these extraterrestrials. She's holding a press conference in public. I was like, man, I'm 2.5 hours away. I got to drive down there and get it. You want me to do it? We'll film it, and we'll come up with a documentary after we get the footage.
Nice.
And so I hustled my butt down there. And that whole experience is just super fun. I'm like you. I can see you got a lot of energy and are wild. And so I just try and make the best of every situation. And so, man, I'm down there. It's just me. Chris couldn't make it. He had other obligations and stuff. So I'm running like two cameras on tripods, another one on a gimbal, running around. The people that were there to broadcast her press conference live, they were having issues. So I had to step up and like stream it from my cell phone. So I'm running all these things.
Yeah, I saw that.
And we get, And so we just get the footage, and I'm calling Chris on the way home. I'm like, Chris, dude, this is interesting content. She says she's forming a team. There's a former astronaut on it, a well-known investigative journalist, and she listed some not specific people because she didn't want them to I guess, be like harassed perhaps by the public.
Right.
But it was just a very interesting story that she claims that she met these extraterrestrials, and B, she's forming a team to go and get scientific data from this extraterrestrial base. C, they're going to provide it to the public, and D, she's saying, hey, she's going to do it before the end of 2021. So it's like, well, we got a timeline, right? So why? Yeah, I mean, it makes for an interesting story that people are going to want to hear.
It does. And Chris, what was your take on that as far as what Tyler's saying? When he had to head out there, and I'm sure you were pretty excited about the footage that what you had heard that day, and then to get Chris involved. And Chris, how were you feeling when that was happening? After he came back and gave you the information.
Well, when he brought it up, I was like, it sounds really interesting. So if you have no problem running out there and getting the footage, we might not use it, might never do anything with this, but it's worth it if you have the time. And where it kind of snowballed from with meeting all these other people and them sharing similar stories, similar experiences to Anjali's story.
Right.
It just all created this really interesting just narrative amongst all these people who are kind of across the country having similar things happen to them, experiences happen to them, but telling it to us very sincerely, not knowing half the other people and stuff, and maybe even hearing Anjali's story. So to me, I'm a bit more skeptical than some.
Right.
But when we put this together, this doc, my hope was that it's interesting not only to people who are very invested into this kind of stuff like you, Don, but also for people who are a bit more skeptical. And when it's over, it's one, entertaining, but two, leaves you with a positive, open mind. And not to give away any spoilers here, Don, but I'm really proud of what me and Tyler did. And I think the ending, when you watch this thing, it's got this really emotional moment that I wasn't expecting when we started putting this thing together. And I'm really proud of it now watching it. I mean, I remember Tyler telling me he let his dad watch it. His dad, not really into this kind of stuff at all or anything, doesn't even watch movies half the time. And he was obsessed with it. It worked. It affected him. And that's the best thing I think a movie can do. Narrative, documentary, whatever. Like it might be a bad effect. It might be a good one. We were shooting for a positive one. Right. And it seemed to work. So
and that's
happy with it. I'm really happy with it. Yeah.
Man, and I was happy too for you guys. You know, when I saw it, and of course I watched it at probably about 12 midnight around here. And I said, you know what, I'm going to kick it on. I'm going to check it out and let me see what it's about. So after I watched it and I finished the whole thing, you know, I sat there and, you know, I thought about it. Just, you know, it makes you think. And that's what that's what's so good about it as well. You know what I mean? Because when you can bring your point across, especially with the stories that everybody, or the stories that you're trying to tell and everything that's happening in this video or this film, it allows you as a viewer to jump in and stay focused. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what this did. So, and that's why, you know, as soon as I saw it, I think I reached out the next day to Tyler. So, and I said, you know what? We got to get you on the show because people need to know about this film. You know, with Alien Strand, you know, I always try to get a lot of these stories out as much as I can about extraterrestrials. Of course, the unknown, everything of the unknown. And I always tell everyone, always keep an open mind, no matter what. You know, always, if you didn't have an open mind, you wouldn't even be looking into these things. So you, every once in a while on the Facebook pages, you'll get a troll here and there. But you know what? And then you get people that doubt as well. But then they turn around and they say, you know what? Maybe I was wrong. You know, after they see some evidence. So in the cases like that, you know, I love to see people kind of change in that sense. You know what I mean? Like we're not, like I always say, we're not trying to make you believe. It's up to you to believe. So we just put the information out there for you guys. And that's exactly what you guys do. And so what brought this different angle, this different concept angle out as an idea to put this together for you guys?
Well, I think like Tyler's saying, that Anjali press conference kind of was the catalyst for a lot because her story was so interesting. It was kind of like this moment in time, and like all these people were really invested in this, and everything she was saying was like, again, really interesting. Right. But then we found other people, like we were talking about, who are also big on UFO Twitter and all that kind of stuff. And Tyler just started reaching out to people. The thing, the thing with a lot of documentaries is like you can go to it in two different ways. One, you can go like, I'm going to craft this narrative of this history or whatever. You already kind of know what you're making. This, we were like pulling together these interviews and we're like, what is this going to be when it comes together? And it just so happened that like the people we talked to, their stories just kind of fit together like a puzzle piece all together in some ways. So it was really easy to put together, I think. But Tyler, speak about how you like met Sue Walker and Clifford Mahooty and all these other people.
Yeah, Chris, great, amazing things you said. Don, excellent job about keeping an open mind. I couldn't agree more. And I think the way this whole thing came together, like Chris said, right, a lot of the stuff that we've done before, we're good on the improv, but most of the stuff, it's like, okay, hey, we have at least, if we don't have a full script written line for line, shot for shot, it's at least bullet points, and we know how we're getting from point A to point B. And this was super fun to just kind of follow the story, follow the like our heart, really. Yeah. You know, I like the idea of like divine inspiration, or hey, are there extraterrestrials or some other intelligence out there that's helping guide, right, our actions or nudge us? Because I know the way this fell together, we had Anjali, we happened to notice on UFO Twitter, right, that a lady by the name of Sue Walker, who's quite popular, her Twitter account is at Sandia Wisdom, and so she's a clairvoyant and had worked just helping solve some like missing persons and murder cases and stuff like that. And she's just done a lot of cool stuff. And then she's also been in communication with, right, these Ponte extraterrestrials via telepathic communication in a mountain near her home. And so we happened to see that on Twitter. I noticed that she had tweeted to some effect that the extraterrestrials that she's communicating with, the Ponte, that they confirmed the Mojave alien desert base that Anjali was talking about. So it's like, oh, wait.
Wow.
Her aliens are saying that, yeah, there is a base in the Mojave Desert. Mm-hmm. So I reached out to her, asked her to confirm that. She did. And she's a super, you could probably tell from the doc, just a super sweet, genuine,
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I've never met her because I wasn't there, but yeah.
Albuquerque, New Mexico, I like step out. I think I had to let the cameras cool down after like one of the interviews.
Yeah.
After 45 minutes, I'm outside. I'm like, dude, this is insane.
Yeah.
This lady's like my grandma. She is so nice. They're so genuine. Her husband, Otter, he's great, Reverend Otter. And so it was just
she
cool.
is, just from like a production standpoint, you can't ask for better people for interviews. Sue is just unbelievably charismatic on screen. Shit. It's hard to like. They might have an interesting story, but if they talk and are boring, and it's not going to come across. It's not passionate. Right. Sue, she's incredibly passionate, incredibly sincere. She really makes this documentary come to life.
Yeah, she does.
She absolutely.
And then I mean, what I saw, and I was like, wow, she grabbed my attention like that. You know what I mean? So I was like, cool. I like the way she's speaking. And it's hard for some people to. In other words, as far as like the physical realm sense of an extraterrestrial, towards a more of a spiritual or a interdimensional sort of extraterrestrial communication, right? So, in her sense, it's that, and people always have a hard time since I've started this, kind of putting those two together. And I've always talked about that those two do go hand in hand. They coincide together. I've had a guest on my show, Shauna Gilmer. Now she had those kind of, and she's still having them, those kind of interactions. So, and they're not so visible, but when they put a Spectrum camera above her ceiling, you couldn't see anything, but she says it's there. So she filmed it, right? And they put it under a spectrum analysis. You could see something spinning, but you couldn't see it with your naked eye or with a camera that she did the spectrum. And it was in a different kind of spectrum that a friend of mine had. So people just couldn't understand that. So when y'all brought this out, I was like, whoa, I'm right there. You know what I mean? And that's what I loved about that part of that, I don't want to, get much, but that's just one thing that grabbed my attention. Now, before all this started, were both of you guys kind of into extraterrestrials and stuff like that, or kind of on and off?
Do you want to go first, Chris?
Sure. I mean, I love anything supernatural, but like I said, I'm still the more skeptical person.
Right.
But that doesn't mean I'm not like super interested in all this stuff.
Right.
So my mind is open,
right,
but I do take some convincing, but I think that works well between me and Tyler, because I think he's a little bit more, just freer. I get cynical sometimes, and Tyler's like the most positive person I've ever met. So it's a good balance we have here. So yeah, that's my perspective.
Yeah, me, I've never been like fanatical about extraterrestrials. I've always been open to it, and I think maybe back in April or so of this year, I happened to just get maybe more, or just read up on it more, right? Starting since the UAPTF report was coming out in June, I was like, oh wow, this is crazy. They're saying it's not Chinese, it's not Russian, it's not ours. Okay, well, they didn't say it, but what does that leave, right? If it's not any of those, I feel like it's got to be extraterrestrials.
It has to be.
So it just kind of got me into, and my brain's always been, man, that, the universe is billions of years old and billions of light years across, right? There's billions of suns and billions of galaxies, like Bill Nelson said. And it's like, man, if an intelligent life evolved 100 to 1,000 years before we did, well, man, in another 100 to 1,000 years, I don't know where our technology's at. The shit's been exponential so far,
Right.
so we might have anti-gravity propulsion by then. We might just be looking at the world a different way. Like nobody's looked at it this certain way,
Right.
that solves this riddle. And so, like, I've always been able to, man, yeah, there could be intelligent life out there. And if they are, like, what are we doing now? We're sending probes to Mars. So wouldn't they be sending stuff here to look for life? I mean, that's what we're doing.
Right. So what makes this documentary that you guys put together different? The idea. What made it so different to put this out there the way y'all did? In other words, you know what I mean? Like, how did how did you make it so different than any other one that's out there?
How is it different than any other one that's out there?
Right.
Sorry, you broke up a little bit.
Yeah, I was losing.
Wake up at Holiday Inn Express to a can't-miss breakfast that's free with every stay. Count on all the hot, fresh coffee you need and an incredible breakfast buffet that has something for everyone, like eggs, cinnamon rolls, and even hot, fresh pancakes with all the toppings you crave. Next time, do yourself a favor and stay at a Holiday Inn Express with a can't-miss breakfast that's free with every stay. So, when you wake up at Holiday Inn Express, you'll wake up happy, a part of IHG Hotels and Resorts.
How's your money feeling? It's about to feel happier with a certificate from Happy Money's partner, Michigan State University Federal Credit Union. Elevate and increase your savings with 18-month terms and only a $500 minimum. And the happiest part? MSU FCU certificates yield 4.5% APY annual percentage yield. Now that's a happier side of money. Elevate your savings. Go to happymoney.com/MSUFCU. That's MSUFCU. Funds insured up to $250,000 by NCUA. The APY is accurate as of the 12/1/2023 dividend declaration date. Early withdrawal penalties do apply. Fees may reduce earnings on the account. Any monthly withdrawals or transfers reduce earnings.
Every day, my employees get scam emails. I wanted to protect my business and clients, so I checked out CISA's Secure Our World. They've got 4 simple ways we can protect our businesses from online threats. Learn more at CISA.gov/Secure Our World.
But we weren't influenced by anything. I think, as if anyone follows Dockside Media, you could kind of tell we do things a bit differently, maybe a bit out of the ordinary. We put ourselves out there, especially Tyler, quite a bit on social media. We take knocks for it all the time.
Right.
Because whenever you put yourself out on the internet, there's tons of criticism. But we didn't look at anything else. I did all the editing. Tyler did all the filming for the most part on this one. And I just kind of let the story tell itself. I really had no issues editing this thing. Like, it just came together super easy. Started cutting between everybody's different stories, and
great job.
I think it just came out the way it was meant to come out. Like, I don't know how else to say it. I didn't sit there. I never talked to Tyler about this is how the narrative needs to go.
Right.
I never like made an outline of what and where things need to be placed. I just started editing, and I was like, this fits here. This fits here when Clifford's talking about this, and yeah. It's crazy. And then I brought up the end where it's like a very positive note. It's crazy that everybody's story kind of ended that way, which kind of made me like really like the people, really like the message. Yeah, I don't know. It just kind of made itself.
You know, I've done that because I edit myself, and as far as like videos as well. Sometimes I just go with the first thing that comes, bam, 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 and it comes in so perfectly sometimes. But in your documentary, you're talking stories, right? So when it came together like that, it kind of just seems like something made this happen the way it did. You know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
It's a possibility. We don't know. But it came together so well, you know, and
thank you, Don. That's really nice.
It did. It came together so well. And you know, that's what just made it for me, you know, as far as that, watching it and just enjoying it really. So Now the people that you found for the interview, was it easy to kind of get them involved in your project?
That's all Tyler. This guy, Tyler, I don't know. His special ability is talking to people, finding people. He has no fear in reaching out to people, which I do.
Nice.
And he is the best person I've ever met at just making people comfortable and getting them to talk. I've never been with him, and we've met, like, every time I've been with him and we met somebody new, he'll walk away, and the person I always hear, like, oh, Tyler, he's got such good energy. Oh, blah, blah. Everything's always positive about him. And then I have to tell these people, well, you spend as much time with him as I do, and then we'll talk, because it's a different story there. But no, it's Tyler's just amazing at that. I don't know what that's his power. Not that he's not a great cameraman and everything too, but that's what he's great at.
I appreciate you saying that, Chris, and that it's streamed live, so you can't take, because I've never heard him say that before. So that felt
never
good.
Will again.
Usually it's just like, bro, just cool it, man. Just tone it down a little bit. I got stuff to do. So, but man, the people, like Chris said, man, the doc edited itself, the interviews, like, they all came together. Like they just did.
Nice. I
just found all these people and found all these commonalities. And you just, like, for me, Chris said, I have no fear. It's just like, oh, dude, I don't, like, the worst they can do is say no. And I'm no worse off than I was not asking them.
Right.
So what the heck? Why not ask? Yeah. And you'd be surprised that, like, man, 90% of the people were so cool about it. Man, I had people, it was just dope. Like, so if you're into this scene, I mean, Chris Mellon, Lou Elizondo, Chris Bledsoe,
Chris Good,
Nick West, like there's just a lot of high level. John Ramirez, he's a CIA retired officer that I'm flying out to interview him here in January.
Nice.
Just reached out to him. He's like, yeah, I'm down. And so, like, man, it was super cool. Like, just how they all, man, just came together. Oh, all those people I was saying, I apologize. I was losing my train of thought. So they were just mad cool. It was sick that they even responded to me, right? I'm a nobody. Like, what, Lou, you don't need to respond to me, man. You got big stuff you're dealing with, pushing for disclosure. Same thing with Chris Mellon.
And the fact Corey that Good,
like, hey, man, sorry I don't have the bandwidth, but, man, I wish you luck on the project. I'm like, say what? Dude, let's go. I don't care if you can't do it. I'm still fired up. I'm still going. I'm getting you that project, dog. I'll get you that. And so it was cool. Like the Lamp essay, or the Lampy 1947, who's popular on Twitter. Yeah, I happened to run into that person at the Anjali live stream, or at the press conference.
Right.
And just through researching this and communicating with them and trying, just all this stuff, it was like, well, hey,
now, do you guys
for an interview? And Sue Walker, she directs me to John Polk, and it's crazy how it all plays out.
Well, I mean,
follow that little thread. And keep...
if you build it, they'll come, right? Like you say, you know what I mean? So it's basically
exactly.
It was almost like divine intervention in a sense, but
it was, man.
And
I believe it.
Do you guys think that now these days there are more open-minded people into ufology and into extraterrestrials and interdimensional beings than before? Do you believe that there's more people out there interested in it now than before? I'm talking 20 years ago.
I think it's way easier to connect with people who have shared similar ideas or thoughts or interests than it was 20 years before, simply through social media and Reddit and all these kind of things where we can gather. I mean, we've experienced the alien people who are interested in this stuff, like with our documentary, with just like putting out trailers and stuff. Right. Like we've had so many people email to us, ask questions. And so they're there. They're interested. I just think now before all this, how would you meet up with people who are interested in this stuff? It'd be way harder than through social media and stuff.
Yeah, because you couldn't bring it up back in the day, like, hey, guess what?
The chances, the chances are your neighbor isn't going to at a kid's birthday party is going to be interested in this stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
It's being destigmatized, I think, quite a bit, right? When the government out reports, when they're creating a UAP task force, right, and creating like actual that's going to investigate it, like that starts to legitimize it. I know through the pre-screening process, it was very intense. Some people, so there was a bunch of winners, that like 20 winners who got a free pre-screening that we could get feedback from, and then so we shared it with some friends and family and stuff like that, and surprised. And so some people who were like, oh, I don't think you're into this kind of stuff, but it'd be neat to hear how you feel. And so a lot of the people who I didn't think had any interest, they were actually like closet believers. They're like, oh, no, I actually believe in that. I'm like, oh, wow, I would have never thought that, right?
They're just not outward with their...
They're not, they don't interact with it. They never talk about it. And so I think there is a lot more of those people nowadays that are open to it, but don't talk about it. Right. And then, interestingly, the thing that, like, I think Chris mentioned earlier about my dad and just some others that had zero interest in aliens and zero belief came away after watching it being like, one, that's the best thing I watched in a long time. And two, I don't know, I'm open to it. Maybe there are. So it's like, whoa, dude. We were able to shift somebody's opinion, not convince them there are, but to the point where they're like, I'm just all about being open-minded, man. I realize it's a diverse world. Right. Mad people have mad different opinions. And if I walked in your shoes, right, I could very well have a very similar opinion to what you have. So I try and respect everybody. Right. But so it's neat when you get an issue like this, which would be of monumental global importance. If there is proven extraterrestrial life, there's better technology. So like, to get, somehow you have to get an entire globe of people to not freak out, right? Yeah. If that day comes when it's disclosed. And I think what we found in our documentary is, man, it does a great way. It's a good opening for people who have zero interest and zero belief to just get their little brain percolating. We're like, man, so if next the government drops, dude, there's extraterrestrials. Absolutely, we have proof. Those people would not, have mass chaos.
Yeah. I mean, what makes you say that? Because of everything that's happening, all the visual sightings, everything that's been happening, more people coming out. What makes you think, to folks out there, that we're not getting prepared for something, something that's gonna come, In other words, so we don't freak out, just like Tyler said. If the government says, okay, yeah, we've talked to these people, and hey, they'll be here next year or whatever, on this day or whatever, they're coming to visit, so that way, at least maybe a quarter of the population won't be as freaked out as probably other people will. So, and by these people, by you talking to these folks, everybody kind of having an open mind, all these things that are starting to come out now, government, the UAPs, the pilots coming out, everybody's saying these things about these things that they're witnessing in the skies, right? And they just can't. How does something go from 20 feet to 28,000 feet in a second? And we don't even have that kind of technology to even get there yet. Something like that would tear us apart. The G forces, they said, I think it was 136 G's. Come on. There's no way. There's no way. So, but what y'all are doing is great. And, I mean, like we talked about, there's a lot of people out there believing a lot more, and it's just by y'all's documentary, getting everything out there. Now, as far as the editing, the sound, who was the guy that was narrating?
Okay, I will tell you. He is a guy we found on Fiverr. Nice. I met him on Fiverr.
Nice.
And I hired him to just do let's just hire this guy. It was like $30 or $40 for the commercial for a trailer. Like, it'd be cool to have like a narrator voice for a trailer.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I like this guy. So I just started working with him. So we got him to narrate the rest of the movie.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did a great job.
I think I think he does a great job. I think he adds production value.
He does.
He does.
I was telling Tyler, I was like, we need a British guy because people will take him seriously. They'll think he's some, because Tyler's like, well, I could do the voiceover. I'm like, Tyler, let's get a British guy.
Let's get a real one.
I'm going back to the Facebook Messenger. I never said I could do it. I don't think so. But I could have. No, here's the deal, though. It was great. The part about the British guy is true, because I'm like, I don't know about it. I'm like a British guy. And then I click on the link. I'm like, oh, yeah, dude, this will be great. This guy's good.
Nice.
And so that voice, it was, it was a beautiful thing how this whole thing came together, man. It's like Michelangelo or whatever talking about like a sculpture and just like chipping away like the rough edges, man. Like this was always there. All these people's stories always there. Right? And we just captured them and Chris, and between Chris and me, chipped away the rough edges.
Wow.
There's I have a friend who has a YouTube channel, Shadow Alley Productions, who does he makes his own latex mask designs now, but he's a big fan of them. Like the high end, they're like $600 to $800 to $1,000 for like a mask because they're skin tight and they look very professional. Anyways, he's Adam Hartwick, awesome dude. He's a couple hours away from here from us, and I reached out because we are making something that is supposed to be entertaining too. So that was a discussion we had. We're like, what if we get a guy in like an alien suit for B-roll when you're talking about this stuff? Because a lot of the other alien documentaries just use stock stuff. Not that we don't use stock stuff in this as well, because it's impossible to film every little thing we're talking about, because some of it's just like thoughts and stuff. Like what you need some way to display that. You want to keep it entertaining. So we reached out to Adam, and he came out for a day, and we did all this filming with him. The best dude in the world. We went into a grocery store and got kicked out. But that's you got to do these kind of things for a movie.
We did that wise scene. Yeah.
But yeah, that stuff. So inputting those little clips here and there, I think adds to it, makes it not only like interesting but fun. Nice. I know we have gotten comments about it, like, oh, that's not a real alien. I'm like, okay, yes, you got me, but it's but it was cool. I don't know. Like I said, we're trying to reach out to people who aren't just the most hardcore of hardcore believers and everything.
Right, and then, you have to have those visuals out there, to get to understand exactly what's happening in the film. You know what I mean? Regardless of how it looks, it doesn't matter. I thought it looked great, but
thank you.
Conscious contact. Now, who came up with that, and how did that really get that concept in there?
Yeah, the thing wrote itself, man. It just wrote itself. Like all this stuff, I just fired off to Chris, like, hey, man, what about conscious contact? Full disclosure. He's like, yep.
It's definitely conscious contact is definitely a saying that Anjali says in her press conference. It's kind of one of the main themes of her press conference.
Right.
She dives into consciousness, and she specifically says conscious contact. I think, or something along those lines. At least
I think she did.
I found it later and read it. I wasn't.
Oh,
sure
maybe that's what it is. Okay.
Yeah.
But that was kind of one of the main threads of the whole doc is the consciousness aspect and, telepathy and all those kind of things. So it seemed to really fit with kind of the narrative of the whole documentary.
So what do you think the folks will get out of this whole thing all put together, all in a nutshell? Tyler?
Man, yeah, I think they leave... I don't know. The people that I screen it with, like family members, man, dude, they all left fired up.
Nice.
Man, they like about to storm the castle, and they don't believe in aliens, and now they're trying to roll up on Congress like January 6th or whatever. Like it was just crazy, man. Chris and I. And if you and Don, if you're doing film work and podcasting and music, you're a creator, man. So, dude, there's few greater feelings than like being able to have an emotional effect on somebody, man.
Right.
And really get them fired up.
Right.
And because I love that feeling. like watching Braveheart or just any type of movie where, you know, you leave and you're like, oh, dude, I can go do anything I put my mind to.
Right.
And so it was cool to have an alien documentary which put people in a place to be like, man, A, I'm open-minded, and B, let's go. I don't know where we're going, but like, yeah, let's go.
I want to see another one.
Yeah. And so like, man, this has just been a super fun journey. And I think they'll leave fired up. I think I think it's kind of a cool angle. We've gotten great feedback from people who are really into it, right? That it's just, it's an original UFO or alien doc. It's different.
I think it has an emotional heart that a lot of documentaries don't necessarily have, especially on this topic. And that's why I kind of love it for that aspect. For me, I want somebody to be entertained, but also leave with an open mind. And maybe we've shifted their mindset a little bit. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so maybe this isn't the one to fully make them believe, but I think we're opening that door for a lot of people. Right. And if you already do believe, then there's tons of interesting nuggets in here. From Sue Walker and Clifford Mahudi and, Anjali. And
I don't think we spoke enough about Clifford. I mean, the fact that we have that neat angle from a Zuni elder, right? Yeah. These people have been passing on their oral traditions since long before Christ was walking around, right? So who's to say that their teachings aren't as valid as anybody else's? So it was so cool to have somebody like him talk about what his elders shared with him.
And that sold it for me too, because I love hearing the natives, talk about their past, their heritage, and everything that they have documented in their own way. So and when they put it out there, as far as like in petroglyphs, hieroglyphs, everything that they have, geoglyphs, right? That we're able to understand in a sense what they were talking about too, right? So him being on your documentary. Excellent, man. I'm glad that he was on there and he was able to get his points across as well. So
100%.
Yeah. And it was crazy getting just being out there, and then same deal, man. Right place, right time. Like this thing just writes itself as I'm going, and so I end up. I can't remember the exact place. Forgive me, but. There's petroglyphs that I could go film that show, and I'm there talking to the guy, or I'm sorry, I wasn't even talking to the guide or whatever that was there at this national park or whatever, and he's sharing with this other couple about, this thing looks like an extraterrestrial because the way that these lines come down from the sun to this being with, I'm like, say what, bro? Yo, I'm shooting a documentary about extraterrestrials right now. Point this out. And so it's like, yo, what are the odds, man, that I'm at that place when he has that conversation with that lady? Maybe I ask him myself, but it's just like, dude, this whole film, the reason I think it's so good is because it's filled with those nuggets that came from, I don't know, serendipity, fate, destiny. I don't know what it was, but dude, we couldn't have scripted it any better.
And it came together well. So, final words for you guys is, where can people find your documentary? Which platforms are they going to be able to find it? And just kind of give us 1-2 on that.
Chris, you want
it? Sure. So, as of right now, we are talking to some distributors looking for mass distribution deal for the documentary. But in the interim, we are today launching on Vimeo kind of a premium version, which you can get access to until those things are ironed out. So at one point,
you can watch Mulan early on Disney Plus for $400.
Right.
That's not $400. It's $5.99 to rent or $14.99 to buy.
Yeah, so you can rent it. You can rent it today on our Vimeo, and then it will be available on docksidemedia.com So you can rent it for $4.99 or purchase for $14.99. As of,
Chris, I think it's $5.99. Don't lie to these people.
I'm so sorry, $5.99. Yes, I'm sorry.
Cream,
Now
we want a little Disney Plus on y'all.
And I mean, the goal is to get it out on all platforms eventually here.
Right.
Might be a little more delayed than that. We didn't want to keep pushing back because a lot of it is time sensitive, especially with the Anjali stuff, and some of the press conferences that have been happening. We don't want it to get dated already because this stuff moves so fast. We had a lot of people asking about it. So we're like, well, until then, it'll be up on Vimeo for now. And we're excited. Hopefully people check it out. Hopefully we get lots of feedback on it. I just want people to see it. We spent a lot of time, a lot of effort on this thing.
So currently it is released, right? I mean, it is out where people can actually see this?
As of what, 4 hours ago?
4 hours ago.
Live button. We got it going. Yep. So if you get on Vimeo and you click on your little or your search glass or whatever and type in Conscious Contact Full Disclosure, it comes right up, baby.
Yes.
And you can do that. The nice thing about Vimeo is that the app is available like on Roku TVs, iTVs, whatever. All your different smart TVs. So you can just
Android,
download
iOS,
the Vimeo app
Chromecast,
for free, and you can you can rent it, and because the best way to watch it is like on your TV.
Right.
It's just it's the best way if you can. And like Chris said, man, we had to get it out there.
Nice.
And so you can search for it. There'll be links, all over.
Okay.
On Twitter as well. We're at Dockside Media. Our website is www.docksidemedia.com. You can email Chris at dockside.media.com, Tyler at dockside.media.com. We've got other podcasts, radio show, stuff like that coming up. So we're going to keep promoting this.
Okay.
And just keep having fun. And like Chris said, man, I believe in my heart of hearts that we're getting a deal, and that we'll have a studio buy it or be able to license it through a distributor to the larger platforms like your Netflix and stuff like that, right? Because the easier it is to click for somebody to watch it, the more people will watch it.
Exactly.
And so we're heading there. But in the meantime, if you can't wait, and I'm one of the people that can't wait, you get yourself on Vimeo. That's VIMEO.com. Search for Conscious Contact Full Disclosure, and you will find it.
Okay, well, what I'll do is I'll add a link. I'll look for it, and I'll put a link on this podcast when we get done today. And then, that way people can, as soon as this podcast is over, you can still go back and listen to this podcast. We're live right now. But I want to really, really thank you guys. Tyler, Chris, man, I really appreciate both of you guys. Did an amazing job on the documentary. I loved it. Man, it's just, it took me to a different level, right? And that's where I wanted to go, really. Really, and you did the job on that one. All right, both you guys, big kudos, man.
That's so nice, Don. Thank you.
Big kudos from Alien Strand here, and we love you guys. And if when you get another one out, of course, you give me a call. I'll check it out. We'll put you back on, and let's get some more footage out there so people can see and understand.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Don. Really appreciate it.
It's coming.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Don. You rock, man. Alien Strand for life.
Thank you,
guys so much.
Thank you, brother. All right, you guys have yourselves a good night, all right? And we'll talk to you here shortly.
Catch you on the flip side.
All right, so there you have
Chris,
it.
Smiley.
So we're
are we going to stay here and keep rolling, or? Oh.
So sorry, I had the button on. So we just had a nice conversation with the guys, and they did an amazing job on this documentary, and I really enjoyed it, and I hope you guys enjoy the documentary as well. So if you can, as soon as this podcast is over, or look at the notes, I'm going to put the link to the description there and where you can find this documentary. So please check it out. Give them guys a good big high five on that. And I just really thank them for being on the show today. Really nice guys. They did an amazing job. They got more more documentaries coming up. So, and as soon as it comes up, we'll get them on the platform. So until then, you guys have yourselves a good day. Hey, there it is. And have yourselves a good evening. And have yourselves a good night.
Executives, Coastal Bend, and Corpus Christi, Texas. And you're listening to the Alien Strand podcast with Donald Ledesma. Buying or selling, visit me at kellygreenrealtor.com or visit me on my Facebook page, Kelly Green Realtor. See you there.
It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woohooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? I kind of like the high five, but if you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. At ChumbaCasino.com, choose from hundreds of social casino-style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses. So don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.